Last week we saw the celebrities bluffing and bullying for a seat in the first heat of the partypoker.net World Open. Actors, comedians and sporting heroes enjoyed a game of cards, with Norman Pace getting the last laugh. Tonight the tournament starts for real. 72 players, $500,000. It can only be one game. Poker. Over the next few months, we'll see some of the best in the world round our poker table, all after that top prize of $200,000. There's 12 heats, with only the table winner moving on to the semi-final stages, so it doesn't matter if you're the first or the last to get knocked out. Winning is the only thing that's important. Let's head over to our commentary team, Jessie May and Kenna James.
Good evening and welcome to the World Open. I'm Jessie May, joined by the man ranked number 2 in America, the cowboy, Kenna James.
Howdy.
Ken, it's going to be a great tournament. World Open, big prize pool, but this format, fast structure, one player goes through. What's the best strategy?
Well, this is what's called a shootout format, okay, which means only one winner. You got to play for all the chips. Conversely, you don't want to start out shooting out. You want to get it heads up, almost like you're in a duel and a shootout. So you want to wait and play a guarded strategy at first, see what your opponents are going to do. Don't give anything away. If you can gain a chip advantage early, it is very advantageous.
Do you have to gamble to win?
You do. Not early, though. Late. You have to, as the field shortens, you have to be willing to gamble and put your chips at risk and force your opponents to a decision for all their chips.
Well, we'll see who's willing to let the action come to them. Let's see who's in this first heat, where they're seated.
Hello, my name's Mark Muldoon. I've been playing poker for about 5 or 6 years.
My name's David Broadhurst. I'm from Birmingham. I just think everybody's got the same chance. I think there's a lot of luck, and if your luck's in on the day, you'll win.
I'm Patrik Neckelmann. I'm a student right now and I've been playing poker for 15 months. I've never played in an event like this, but I don't know. I'm not too scared. Everything can happen, I guess.
My name's Darren Bloom. I live in London. I've been playing poker for 20 years and mainly recreationally, but I do like to play some of the bigger tournaments. I've got a younger brother who happens to play the old tournament in there, the Lizard. He's a very, very strong player, but he learns it all from me.
My name's Norman Pace. I've been playing about 4 years and I managed to win the celebrity heat in order to enter round 1 proper. So I'm playing against the big boys now. Today I'm here to win, I've learned this. I used to say, I just love playing the game, it's fantastic, just to be here is enough. No, it's not anymore. I've decided that in order to be a winning poker player, you have to have a winning mentality, so I've come to win today.
My name is Eamonn O'Neill, and I've played tournaments for the last 2 years, but I've played lots of cash games for the last 10 to 30 years.
Well, that's the lineup. Big spread. Now, one player in there, Kenna, we know, last week's winner, now in the main draw, Norman Pace. Does he have to change his game?
Well, I don't think so. He played a nice game last week. He's up against a little bit stiffer competition this week, so he'll have to, maybe be a little bit more creative in garnering those chips. They won't come to him quite as easy as they did last week.
Big spread in ages. The youngster, Patrik Neckelmann, out of a university poker school. And, of course, Eamonn O'Neill, the silver fox.
Right. Well, Patrik, only 22 years old. In America, we refer to them as the young guns. And then the older statesman, Eamonn O'Neill, 66. And that's the great thing about poker is it spans many generations. There's no age barriers, color barriers, anything like that. Everybody's on an even keel, starting with the same amount of chips and has an equal opportunity to win the event.
Yeah, I mean, if you got a beating heart, you're never too young or too old to gamble. So cards are going to be in the air. Let's get over to the table and see who's going through to the semifinals. Off and running the first heat of the World Open. 6 players here playing down to 1. A button. Dealer will start in seat number 6, and players beginning this game with 100,000 in tournament chips. The yellows are worth 1,000. The blues are 2. The reds are 5. 600,000 in total chips on the table. One player will get them all. And the first hand about to be dealt. Blinds will start at 1 and 2,000. And you think someone will jump out and try and take control? It's always nice to see.
Yeah, it's hard to tell to see which game plan is in effect by which players. Now there is Darren Bloom, brother to Tony Bloom, who I've played with many times. Won the Aussie Open. Tony Bloom did, rather. So if his brother is any mark in the same game, he's going to be very tough to deal with.
First hand folded around to Dave Broadhurst, and I know that will be a huge relief to Dave Broadhurst. The last time, Kenna, he played in a televised tournament, he got knocked out the first hand.
Well, he surpassed that, and that answers your first question, whether somebody's going to jump out there. Nobody really had anything to jump out there with, so the first hand pretty meaningless.
Dave Broadhurst there, Birmingham area. So I guess cards usually dictate the action, but players still come in with a game plan, don't they?
Certainly, but it's hard to come in situational in the very first hand. Here we are now. Bit of a decision for Darren Bloom. He folds the ace suited.
And Norman Pace on pace here, limping in with the Jack-9 offsuit.
Well, he's trying to pick up right where he left off last week, winning that competition of celebrities.
4 players, 2,000 apiece. The blinds are in. 2 limpers. And here's the flop.
Ace 10-9, 2 spades.
Check.
Pace folding bottom pair, but he was the initial flop raiser.
6,000. Pass.
Yeah, I mean, Muldoons have a pop at it here, and it's impossible to see anybody calling him.
Well, you know, he's played his position well.
Pass.
I think that Norman should have made what's called a continuation bet there. If you're the pre-flop raiser and do not get re-raised when the flop comes down, you bet it and, you know, see what your opponents do.
So it doesn't count to me. Just like little stuff anyway.
Darren Bloom,
Pass.
Queen 4 spades, suddenly testing him a little bit.
Pass. Call.
And
Eamonn, well, this answers your question. It looks like Eamonn is going to be the first one to start stepping out here. And Muldoon is going to have nothing with it. He's going to challenge him with the 9-10 of spades.
big splash of yellow from the Irishman.
Pass.
That's going to take the pot.
He's going to take it right away from O'Neill, who entered the pot with a very speculative holding, deuce 3 of clubs. Maybe the suits got him. You know, people tend to overvalue suited cards.
So, not much chip movement yet, Kenna, although Mark Muldoon stepped up a little bit. And here's Eamonn O'Neill.
Call.
Still first level of blinds.
Pass.
And Eamonn O'Neill means a limp to death here.
Pass.
Well, he likes to limp with the 6-7 of spades, which I like because that draws people into the pot.
Raise.
Norman Pace, he held good cards last week, and he picks up right where he left off. He has big slick, as it's known, ace-king offsuit.
Pass.
Yeah, and this raise of 6,000, enough to tempt Eamonn, so we're head up, and O'Neill has position. Pace has the card so far. What do you think?
Wow, both players flopping a pair.
Check. Check. Both
Pair of
checked.
aces for Pace. He's slow playing, as he did last week. Now, top two,
Check.
aces and kings.
Both
He's
checked.
praying that his opponent, Eamonn, will bet.
Perfect 7 comes.
But he's not going to have anything of it. He's going to make what's called a value bet here, which is a small
8,000.
bet to try and get,
Pass.
you know, a few chips, extract a few chips from your opponent's stack. But Eamonn smelled trouble there and folds his pair.
Well, Eamonn was no not fooled even once. I mean, you could not separate a chip from his stack after the flop came out. Although, you did get to see all 5 cards for free. So looking at the leaderboard, they've played about 9 or 10 hands, and Norman Pace has won 3 of them. Mark Muldoon has won 3 as well, and that's why they're the chip leaders. Darren Bloom, looking at that leaderboard, Kenna, has been the tightest player at the table so far, but that may be his strategy, to just sit back for the first couple levels.
Pocket 8s
Pass.
for Mark Muldoon.
And
Call.
Muldoon's just called.
Pass.
Well, that's a strategy sometimes, is not
Raise.
to let yourself be raised off a hand. You limp in, try, because your main goal is to flop a set and win a big pot.
12 more, 14 total.
This is O'Neill from the big blind, who's made a large raise of
You wanna re-raise to
12,000.
30?
Yeah.
Re-raise to 30,000 total.
And Muldoon's picked up on it right away. These chips could go in. He said re-raise to 30.
Yeah, well, he's put in a big re-raise here. So he has 2 things going for him. He's representing probably 2 aces, a bigger hand than he has
Pass.
here, which is going to drive
Pass.
fear into his opponents and fold. But I think Eamonn O'Neill here just has too big a hand to get away from it,
16
so he's going to
call.
look him up.
Call.
They call it a limp re-raise. It's a very strong play pre-flop, isn't it?
It is, especially from early position.
So this pot, about 60,000 and change. And here's the flop. If it comes ace or king.
Wow. Okay, Muldoon flops a set of 8s right here.
Check.
And he's probably going to, I thought he might slow play and check here, but it looks like he's getting chips to bet right out. And he does.
30,000.
Yeah, I mean, from Muldoon's point of
Pass.
view.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I think I would have, you know, the board wasn't too dangerous there. I would have checked it and hoped that an ace or a king came on the turn, because the objective in No Limit Hold'em is to get all your opponent's chips, not just some of them. And with a hand as strong as a set, you might want to slow play.
You'll need to know what beats what in poker, so let's check out the ranking of hands in Texas Hold'em.
Every 5-card poker hand falls into the official ranking of poker hands. If you have nothing at all, you at least have a high card. Ace plays the highest. Then there's 1 pair. Higher than that is 2 pairs. Queens up beat jacks up. 3 of a kind is sometimes called a set. A straight is 5 cards in a row of any suits, and an ace can play high or low in straights. A flush is 5 cards of the same suit in any order. Suits don't count. A spade flush and a heart flush is the same. A full house is a 3 of a kind plus a pair. 4 of a kind is what it says, and a straight flush is 5 cards in a row, all the same suit. Royal flush is the highest hand you can get. That's a straight flush, ace high. A dozen hands, a baker's dozen. And this will be hand number 13. Card dealing out, and Mark Muldoon has really splashed out here. You know, Muldoon, I think he's a cash game player principally, hangs out in the big games in Dublin, but seems very cool tonight.
Well, he took a big risk there with the 2 8s,
Call.
putting in that big re-raise before the flop.
Pass.
He was rewarded by it, however. You know,
Pass.
this game does have risk reward when the cards fall your way, and it certainly did in that hand for him.
Call.
Broadhurst opened up the betting
Call.
with the call, and that
No
has,
raise.
like a rash, spread around the table. Muldoon, one of 3 aces out there, just checking for the big blind.
Wow. It looks like it's Muldoon's deck tonight
Check.
as he flops
Check.
3 jacks.
It certainly
Check.
does.
8,000.
And Norman Pace has
Pass.
fired out this. Is he going to get trapped?
Well, this is almost a pure bluff. He may think ace high is good here, but that will be answered very quickly by Muldoon.
Call.
Muldoon trying to
Pass.
let Pace catch up. Just called.
I think Pace should give this pot up now. He's made a bet. He's made a stab at the pot.
Jackson fives with the ace for
Check.
pace. He's drawing dead right now.
Yeah, well, that gives Muldoon a full house. 3 jacks and 2 fives. That's a full house.
12,000.
I guess Pace is hoping that Muldoon's on a flush draw.
Well, Pace is not letting up. Yeah, I think he's just, you know, falling prey to Muldoon's feigning weakness here.
Will Muldoon spring the trap? Now, he hasn't sprung the trap yet.
No, he's aptly playing this hand, letting his opponent, in this case Norman Pace, bluff off his chips. And he's going to try it one more time.
Yeah.
But Norman Pace is done with it.
House even.
Muldoon trying to let Pace do all the betting, but he's had all the cards and big chip leader right now.
Yep.
That was your change.
You know, I like the way he played that hand, Mark Muldoon. Currently the chip leader with 170,000.
You want spades, yeah? Spades?
Mark seems to be on a roll tonight. It's only early, but he's stretching away from the rest, and once you've got a stack of chips in front of you, you can really get stuck in and bully your opponents. Can the man from Belfast take advantage? Our first heat is proving a tough one. No one's giving an inch so far, and though Irishman Mark Muldoon is out ahead, this is still anyone's game. Let's get back to the action.
Call. Pass. 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 Pass.
Mark Muldoon, just a card rack. All quality holdings. This time he has royalty, king, queen.
Yeah, a free flop here for Eamonn O'Neill, who can only get into trouble right now. Middle pair
Check.
versus top pair
Both
of
checks.
Muldoon. And Muldoon being a sneaky pants.
A sneaky pants. The 5 of spades comes off on the turn. And you know what? He knows his
Check.
opponent. Now you notice that
6,000.
O'Neill, before when his opponent showed weakness, bet. But that's because he had position. Now he's out of position. He doesn't bet when his opponent shows weakness. He respects the position of his opponent and just checks and calls.
I mean, Muldoon set this up pretty well. It's pretty hard for Eamonn O'Neill not to feel like his hand is best right now, isn't
Exactly. I love the way Muldoon has played this hand. He's got kings up, kings and fives. It's the best hand.
Check.
He's probably going to make a value bet here.
How much does he need to bet to get
I
paid?
think about 8,000. Yep, he bets 10,000 and is quickly called.
Very hard to blame Eamonn O'Neill from
Kings-
where I'm
kings and
sitting
fives
for
and
calling that down, but Muldoon got maximum extraction.
He sure did.
Well, Mark Muldoon, kind of an equal opportunity poker player. You know, he's taking chips from everybody.
Well, he's the only one that's above the chip stack of 100,000. You're right, he's taken a little bit from everybody. He's held the cards so far, and he's played them very well. And it's really interesting about poker that this shuffle machine that we have, or the dealer, it's all random. But it does seem to that, you know, this game goes in cycles, and that when you're getting the cards, things go your way.
I mean, we've seen a couple of big hands out there. Eamonn O'Neill, he's had some really big hands, ace, king twice, this sort of thing, but he just can't really get going.
Well, you know, Mark Muldoon has got the secret so far, and let's see if it holds up.
Time for bet.
One of the things that's going on in poker right now is that there's some poker players, a lot of the great ones, who like to play only from the front.
Right. Well, it's certainly easier to play from in front.
Pass.
Remember, there is only one
Call.
winner, and your objective is to get
Call.
every chip at the table. He calls here now with pocket threes. His objective to
Call.
flop a set, which is 3 threes. So he's going to be looking for a 3 on the flop. Broadhurst with ace-6 of hearts, and Darren Bloom with the
Raise.
ace-7.
8,000 more. 10
Bloom
total.
raising from the big blind. I think he was expecting to take it right there, but Muldoon's already called.
Yeah, well, you know, it's hard to take it from the chip leader. He's going to defend, and that's going to draw everybody else probably into this pot. And we're going to have a big pot before the flop.
Yep. I mean, from this point, from Darren Bloom's point of view, Kenna, wouldn't you say this is a complete disaster? Is it time to revert to Plan B for Darren Bloom?
It may be. You know, he's built a pot. He's tried. His objective was to eliminate opponents, but instead he's drawn them all in. So the opposite has happened. But let's see if the flop rescues him. Of king, 5, 8, all different suits. Nobody's flopped anything. I think if Darren Bloom leads out here, he might pick up this pot, but it's going to be tough because, you know, his opponent said, we're not going anywhere, we don't believe you. Check. So it's very hard for him to bet. Yeah,
Bloom's backed off. I mean, he could have easily stuck that bet in if there was only one opponent or maybe 2, but with 3, he's...
Right. It's hard to continue the bluff. Now, this is the advantage of having the chip lead. Muldoon, he does have the best hand as we know it, but he has a lowly pair of 3s. Believe me, he thinks he's out there bluffing.
Cool.
But he has the chip lead, so you know he has the comfort level of being able to make these speculative bets.
Total. Pass.
This is sort of interesting. I mean, Muldoon bet 12,000. Broadhurst called him with a worse hand, but Muldoon must be petrified.
He is, and now Broadhurst hand improves as he makes a pair of 6 on the turn. This should shut Muldoon down. I think he was taking a stab at the pot, trying to pick it up.
Check.
Yep,
check.
It does. He checks.
Broadhurst doesn't have to bluff anymore. He's got a good enough hand.
Right. He made the pair on the turn. He has 6s and 8s, and unless Muldoon bets him out of the pot, he's going to turn over his hand and win it.
Muldoon's going to be very shocked. The 6 got there on the turn, and Broadhurst will take it. That's a good little pot for Dave Broadhurst.
It's very interesting. You know, we saw Broadhurst fold second pair to a bet earlier. This time he has no pair, and he called the bet no problem.
I guess does the size of the pot sometimes influence you to take more chances?
Absolutely. You get dollar signs in your eyes, and that pot was a monster. And it shoots Dave Broadhurst into second place with $133,000, Jesse.
It's amazing how one pot can change things. Muldoon in danger of just skyrocketing away from everybody. He's still the chip leader, but a bit tight for second. And Neckelmann, 68,000. Is he in trouble yet?
Not quite yet. The blinds are still low. You know, we're soon to go to the second level. Right now, I believe we're still playing. No, we have moved up now to $2,000 and $4,000 blinds, and that is going to turn the heat up a lot, especially on Patrik.
Eamonn O'Neill, a very pretty hand. Ace Dame of Hearts.
Sure is.
Call.
Quick call from Dave Broadhurst, who I think Broadhurst likes the suited cards, but he won't want to hit hearts right now.
No.
And if Darren Bloom calls for 10,000 here.
Wow. Well, you know, you can see as one player comes in, it's like a cascade. You know, players get to see all those chips and they want to get in there and gamble it up and try and have their opportunity to win the pot.
Yeah, you know, I think I missaw something here, Ken. I think Eamonn O'Neill just called under the gun with the ace queen of hearts, so it was very cheap for all the rest of the players.
Right, it drew everybody into this pot, and everybody's going to be vying for this pot. It's going to be a juicy one.
5 ways, 20,000 in there. A couple of spades out there for Norman Pace.
Check.
Neckelmann takes the lead with a pair of kings.
6,000.
And O'Neill, never seeing a flop he doesn't like, leads out with no pair, ace high. I think he's doing this to define his hand. He wants to know where he's at. He does have a very big starting hand, but after a flop like this, his hand is really reduced to rubble.
Raise 20 more.
Wow, that's a big
Re-raise
raise
20
from
more,
Neckelmann. He does have the
26,000
best
total.
hand, and it'll be interesting to see how Pace feels about his flush draw for 26,000. That's like a third of his stack right now, Kenna.
Puts him in a very, very difficult spot, but he also has a straight draw, which makes it even tougher. A 6 would make him a straight. Any spade would make him a flush. The pot is increasing.
What do you
Will
do?
he take this chance right here, you know? It's very tough, Jesse. Very tough decision, as you can see.
What do you do with his hand right now, Kenna?
Wow. You have to give me tough questions, huh?
Pass.
He's folded, pushing all in. I mean, looking at the cards out there, might have just taken the pot then and there, but
I'm not sure. I think he may have gotten called. And the one thing you don't want to do is go broke on a draw. And Norman Pace, a very educated fold there.
It ain't easy.
And everybody in that
flush
room
draw.
back.
Pace,
They'll know.
enough to do it.
You don't get to see them until it's over.
It's just actually really tough to fold a flush draw. I mean, I would imagine that you have to reach a certain level of poker before you're able to fold a flush draw on the flop like
Right,
that.
and a straight draw. I had the gut shot straight to go with it. So, but you know, the whole idea of poker is to have your opponents chase, okay? Which is putting their money in with no hand, hoping to make a better hand. And he's
Raised to
obviously learned that
16,000 total.
lesson and correctly folded his hand.
Neckelmann has come completely alive of late, as in this hand and the
Pass.
last one, and he's starting to feel his
Pass.
oats.
Call.
I think I heard him say 16,000, which is a raise of 12.
Yeah.
And Eamonn O'Neill welded to his hand from the big blind.
Well, what's interesting here is Neckelmann raised with the ace-9, Norman Pace folding the ace-9. So that takes 2 of his cards away as we go to the flop.
Three-way, 50,000 in there. This is a big pot. Who's going to hit?
King, deuce, 4, 2 hearts, nobody on hearts.
Check.
Ace-9 still the best hand.
I think Broadhurst has a little wiggle
24.
in there with the middle pair.
24,000.
But Neckelmann, check to him, he's betting out. It's very tough for Broadhurst to call, isn't it?
Well, Broadhurst has second pair. And it is
Pass.
going to be
And pass.
a tough spot for everyone else. He takes down the pot.
Don't go anywhere. Lots more action is coming your way from the partypoker.net World Open after the break. Welcome back to the partypoker.net World Open. There's still 6 players around the table, but someone's going to have to make a gamble and make their move. There are no prizes for second, only the table winner is into the money. So it's got to be all or nothing out there.
Here come the cards. Button on Mark Muldoon, the chip leader. Although Patrik Neckelmann is creeping up silently. And here's Darren Bloom.
This is my trap hand, 8-5 suited. I love that hand for some reason. It gets me in trouble, and it would have here too, as right behind him, Norman Pace has got the ace-10 of clubs.
I think it's a splash of red from
15,000
Norman.
total.
Sure enough, 3 reds make 15.
And now this is going to be an interesting hand because Eamonn O'Neill has the same hand, relatively, ace-10, not suited.
Well, it suits your gap theory, Kenna. It
Right.
should be much tougher for Eamonn to call than it was for Norman to raise.
Absolutely.
Pass.
But he does, the one thing going for his advantage
Pass.
is that he has position on his opponent. And we know that Eamonn likes to bet the flop. So if both players miss here,
Pass.
I expect O'Neill to win this pot. Although Pace has not been known to give up too easily, so.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm expecting them both to miss.
Here it is, the flop. This time it'll be Pace to lead at the flop and put O'Neill at a decision.
14,000.
There's 36,000 in there, and Pace bet 14. Is that enough to ask a question?
Absolutely, but
Pass.
you know what? See how interesting this is? If Pace would have checked, O'Neill would have bet, and Pace would have had to fold. In this case, it was Pace who let out with the bet, and O'Neill had to fold. So he actually stole position from him. When you're first to act after the flop, you can steal position from your opponent by leading out with the bet.
Norman Pace polishing off his trophy right now, sandpapering his stacks, stacking up chips. And it's always fun to be still stacking your chips from the last hand when the cards are coming out and playing the next hand.
It sure is, Jesse.
I don't know if there's a word or a term for the pot you win while you're still stacking your chips for the last hand. But
it's called rush. Darren Bloom with the ace-3 of diamonds, praying for diamonds because that would put Pace in a very terrible spot here.
Darren Bloom has not really hit his side of the flops so far this evening.
Check.
Well, he's not hit his stride yet, as we say. He may be waiting to come down the back stretch. And there it is, the back stretch. He turns aces.
I mean, this 10,000 in the pot means a lot more to Darren Bloom right now than it does to Norman Pace.
6,000.
I like the way he played this. He checked, let his opponent bluff at it, but he's also defensive in case he doesn't have the best hand, but I think he's going to test it and try and win it right here. Looks like he's getting chips in, enough chips in to make a raise.
He wants to know exactly how much he has. The answer is he has 75,000. So it's a bit of a balancing act, isn't it? He doesn't want to raise too much to commit himself in case Norman has a bigger ace, but...
Well, I think he is committed here. You know, it's just a matter of whether he's going to call or raise. He's going to fold. I didn't even think of that as an option. My goodness. Norman Pace putting Darren Bloom to the test.
That's those computers for you.
You know what it might be? It just doesn't look like Norman Pace bluffs. I mean, if you look at him, he's a quiet bait. He's got the glasses. You know, you'd never think he's out there robbing.
Mr. Pace, who would have thought it? Behind those smiles, he's more than capable of pulling off a cheeky little bluff. The snake's not going to like it when he watches this one back. Can Norman keep up the pace?
I'm afraid I am the possessor of testosterone, so occasionally I've been known to give the gimlet eye to people. Yeah, I hide it well though. I'm still a nice bloke, but underneath that I'm churning with a desire to win. I've had to change my attitude towards poker because I always had a kind of just love playing attitude to poker, but it's not about that. You have to go in there so focused and ready to win. You know, it's just like any other sport, really. I know you sit down and there's not much exercise involved in it, but I think you have to get your mind right when you go in. And I'm going to go and sit at that table. I'll be watching everybody like a hawk. I'll be thinking about my position and my cards and what I'm doing there. And I'm hoping I won't do anything foolish because I'll be concentrating so hard that I won't.
Good move.
Next one is 4-8 or?
3-6.
Oh, okay. That's more human.
Well, the snake.
Darren Bloom, I'm telling you, he's got, if he's anything like his brother, he has a lot of desire, and he's just waiting for the right opportunity to strike.
8,000 from the short stack. 8,000, one for each 8.
Call.
Call.
Neckelmann, tired of sitting on the sidelines, wants to take a flop with the 5-7 offsuit.
I mean, this is one of those decisions that can compound itself.
That's right. Wow. This would be a wonderful, good time to bluff by Neckelmann if he let out. Interesting card on the turn. Wow. Now he's going to, I think he would have won it with a bet on the flop, but now the problem for him is that O'Neill has turned an open end straight. Open end means a queen or a 7 would make him a 5-card straight. He doesn't need it. He already has the 2 8s, but he doesn't know that, looking at all those overcards on the board, Jesse.
The bet is 10,000. The pot is 28.
Call.
And Eamonn O'Neill only has 29. Now 19. There's now more in the pot than O'Neill has left. Neckelmann drawing nearly dead. Oh!
Wow, it's an 8.
Put you all in.
And that makes Neckelmann the straight.
How much? 11?
And gives O'Neill 3 8s. It's going to be tough for him to lay down this hand, even though there's 4 to a straight on board, but he does.
Straight.
No, he's called all in. I mean,
He did call all in. I missed that call. I'm sorry.
And Eamonn O'Neill will be out there sometimes when a guy turns over cards and everyone at the table just grimaces and says, that's ugly.
Right.
It's kind of one of those situations.
Okay, the bottom's moved.
I mean, poor O'Neill. He thought he got out of trouble with the third 8 on the end, but it's made Neckelmann a straight. The 7 picked up from the litter. 7, 8, 9, 10 jack. Straight beat 3 of a kind, and we are down to 5 players. Eamonn O'Neill out. What a hand. Now, Patrik Neckelmann was bluffing. He was bluffing cold. Only had 2 cards to win. He hit it. Do you think he could have won that pot anyway, or?
Well, you know, I think so. A bet on the flop would have won the pot as well. And, you know, one of the keys to bluffing, if you are going to bluff, is bluff early. You know, don't wait till it's too late. And if you're going to make a stand with a hand, make a stand early, as it is, you know, Eamonn here made his hand at the end, but it was not enough.
Well, Neckelmann's a young gun, 22 years old. He's now got the chip lead, and he's just flipped over that 7-5 offsuit for the bottom straight on the river.
Right.
What are the other players going to think?
Well, you know, the hand was pretty much given to him. So it's going to be nice for him. It's going to build his confidence as well as his stack, and hopefully for him, he can make a run at the top.
Neckelmann and Muldoon on top. It's the young guys. Let's see what happens.
BMWs.
5 left now. And Kenna, I know it's early, but you are a pundit. Let's hear a prediction.
Well, too early to predict, but Muldoon is out there with 166,000. And for the first time, he is overtaken, and this by Patrik Neckelmann, who's just got him edged by 1,000 with 167,000.
So neck and neck with Neckelmann.
Cool. Any raise? No raise.
Well, there's been a couple of limp-ins here.
Right.
Or, I think Norman Pace.
He's got the 8 and 9 of clubs, yeah.
Yeah, he opened up with a call, and it brought in the blinds.
As we go to the flop, 6, 7, 8, a wonderful flop for Norman Pace, who has flopped top pair, open end straight. This would be an ill-advised bet
15,000.
by Darren Bloom, but he's going to make it.
He's betting 15,000 to 12,000 pot, and if Pace pushes, Bloom will be. What should Pace be thinking about right now?
Well, right now he's thinking, first of all, is this pair of 8s good? And he's just thinking, do I want to call or raise here? Certainly he's not thinking about folding. His hand is much too strong. Top pair is a very good hand. And he elects to flat call.
Pass.
I think I would have put in a raise here because any card that comes above an 8, other than a 10, which will give him a straight, makes his hand very vulnerable. And there it is. Just like that, Darren Bloom pairs his kings and takes a lead in this hand and is going to move all in. You know, he risked the bluff on the flop, and he was rewarded with making the best hand on the turn. And now Norman Pace in a very difficult spot.
Yeah, Bloom was on the arm, but now the pair, the strong right arm, and Pace will never realize how unlucky he got. It's very tough for him to call here, isn't it?
It is tough for him to call, but he does have a lot of outs. Any 6, any 10, any 8, any 9. It's going to be very difficult for him to fold. Meanwhile, if you notice, if he would have raised on the flop, he would have won it right there. Now he's put himself in a very difficult position, as you can see the pain of the decision that he is facing right now.
Yeah, this is no fun. Bloom stuck about a 50 ball in there, 50,000. And it would mean most of Norman's chips.
Right, and remember, you know, what we're playing for. One person goes through.
Norman could fold here and still have about 80,000 left. If he calls and loses, he'll be down to a farthing.
Well, at this point, with him thinking this long, certainly he knows now that he is behind and that he would have to catch one of his cards to improve his hand to win, and that's what he's determining. Does he want to take the gamble?
I mean, doesn't Norman have to disregard the king? It's so unlikely that the king helped Darren's hand, although I guess we know it did. Or,
well, Bloom led at this pot on the flop. Now he's come firing on the turn, so he's shown real strength.
Pass.
And Pace does lay it down. You know, I think that's a good lay down. There's only one card to come. He had many outs to make his hand, but with only one card to come, he figured the gamble wasn't worth it.
looking at the chip stacks, Bloom back in business now, nearly where he started, which is pretty good for him.
It's a welcome relief after being on the short stack to find yourself in third place. The top two spots, 162, 152,000, only separated by 10,000, Jesse.
It's tight. And even Broadhurst, who's the short stack, if he doubles through, he'll go worst to first.
Anybody can still win here on the World Open in this heat.
This is a little better than ace deuce, ace hook.
11.
Okay, minimum bet 12.
Oh,
Raise to 12,000 total.
Neckelmann thought we were still playing 2 and 4, but the blinds have gone up. Minimum raise now is 12, and he'll be forced to make that. He's going to be lucky that he didn't bet 3 times the big blind like he wanted.
Yeah, he's facing the best hand in poker right now, the best starting hand, 2 aces. A welcome relief for Norman Pace, who is near the bottom of the leaderboard, looking to vault to the top with the Rockets.
Norman Pace, I mean, ace is always the temptation to try and get cute. Is 18,000, might that price Neckelmann in?
I think so. I think it's a good raise. It's going to put Neckelmann to a decision. He has a decent hand.
Call.
I expected Neckelmann to call, and he does. He's going to need clubs or a lot of jacks to take down Norman Pace's aces as we go to the flop, Jesse.
Yeah. Do the red aces play better than the black ones, or you don't care how you get them, huh?
You don't care. Any way they come. Queen 7 deuce flop. No pair for Neckelmann. That might save him in the end.
Oh God, Neckelmann's got that look on his face like he's
check.
Like he's ready to make a move. He might.
Like it. When there's 67,000 in the pot.
Norman Pace going for the stranglehold right here. He says, I want to win it right here. The pot's big enough. With his chips in, it totals 134,000. That's going to move him up on the leaderboard. He wants to win it right here.
Not that much.
It's really a no decision for Neckelmann. He has no pair, no draw.
Remember what happened in '66?
Pass.
I can't say I blame Pace for moving all in there, Kenna. I mean, as you say, there was more in the pot than there was left in his stack.
That's right.
Huh? 14, 66?
Don't get greedy. Take what the game gives. It gave Norman Pace that hand and second place in chips now with 134,000.
Pocket aces for Norman Pace. Now, Kenna, everybody loves the aces, wants the aces. How do you play the aces?
Well, it is the best starting hand in poker, and I like to play them strong because you want to run into somebody with the second best hand. Here, ace-jack of clubs for Neckelmann, a very reasonable starting hand. He made a nice re-raise before the flop. I like the way he played it, and he took down a nice pot.
Yeah, it was enticing, that re-raise, and Neckelmann kind of bit off a little bit more than he could chew. So Pace up to second position now. Will he use the chips to his advantage? There's still 5.
Welcome back to the partypoker.net World Open. In our heat tonight, only the table winner will go through into the semi-finals. The rest go home empty-handed. With a $500,000 prize pool, no one will be giving this up lightly. Let's head back to the table.
A nearly full field of 5, blinds 3 and 6,000, and not that much spread from first to worst right now.
That's right, not a lot of disparity, especially in No Limit Hold'em, Jesse, where the chips can change at any time with a mere double up.
So every player potentially dangerous. This player with this hand, very dangerous.
Well, pocket queens, the third best starting hand in No Limit Hold'em.
Call.
Oh, tricky.
Wow, he might try to get cute with the 2 queens. I don't mind a call if you have a lot of aggressive players behind you, you know, that want to raise, and you can re-raise at that point and try and win the pot before the flop.
Well, this is just a beautiful situation for Bloom now. Neckelmann looks like he's going to put on his raising glasses.
Yeah, well, he's found 2 10s.
I mean, to be fair, Kenna,
Right.
Neckelmann may have stuck the chips in whether or not Bloom called or raised, but this perfect. Bloom wanted to get the re-raise. Now he's got the opportunity.
Right. He can use it as a springboard, re-raise, isolate his opponent, and face only the pocket 10s, in which he's about a 4-to-1. He'll have about a 4-to-1 advantage. I expect him to re-raise here.
Does Bloom have to consider that he's up against kings, aces, or ace-king even?
Well, it's so unlikely. Yes, it's a possibility, but, you know, if you play poker like that in fear, you're just not going to win.
The raise is oh, here he goes.
He does move all in. You know, I've seen Tony Bloom make that exact move. They're brothers, and he moves the chips in the pot just like his brother.
And Darren didn't look too scared there, did he?
No. And this is going to be a really tough decision for Neckelmann here with pocket 10s, a very reasonable starting hand. But as you can see, he's left with only an 18% chance to win if he should call.
61,000 more.
Not a good situation in Hold'em before the flop. Pair under pair. I mean, can Neckelmann take this message, or does he have to consider that Bloom, there's hands out there that Bloom could have that he could beat?
Well, it's such a tough decision here. And he makes the right one and lays it down.
Wow. That's very mature.
It's very mature play. He aptly realized that, you know, if he was against an overpair, he'd be a 4-to-1 dog. And
good raise.
He says good raise to Darren Bloom, who at least had 2 overcards, so the best he was going to be was a coin flip.
I mean, that's not easy to do, to make a raise with the 10s and then lay him down. He stuck in a 30 ball and then had to give him up.
Well, you know, he was suspicious of his opponent because, you know, he limped in right before the flop and then re-raised. So that shows a lot of strength.
6,000 on Bloom.
He's got the ace-4.
I think he's cranking it up a notch here, Kenna.
Well, he's starting to hit his stride. As I said, early out of the gate, he was a little slow, but now he's in the back stretch. He's bringing in a raise with the ace-4, showing no fear.
Well, it was a little tough because early on, I think Bloom was in danger of losing his ticket to the family reunion, but now he's a Bloom through and through.
In reference making to the fast play of the Blooms, Tony and Darren Bloom.
And Muldoon peeling off a flop here.
Muldoon peeling off a flop with 10-3. Actually makes second pair on a wing and a prayer. He came into this hand.
25,000.
And he's just going to steal it right away from Darren Bloom. Look at this mitt, 10-3. What a horrible starting hand this is. But it's come out smelling, well, blooming like a rose.
Yeah, he just slung 5 red chips in there. It's impressive. Bloom.
I'll tell you one thing, though. If I know anything about the Blooms, they don't like, okay, when they're to be disrespected. When they've raised a pot and a king comes out, he might just decide to represent the king and re-steal this pot from Muldoon.
So you think Darren reads this 25,000 bet as weak?
Well, he might read it as a probe bet, or a feeler bet, as we call it, which means the first bettor is trying to feel out where the strength of his hand is, and Darren Bloom might just answer him and say, your hand is no good. But he wisely throws it away and decides not to make that play.
It's almost like Muldoon was playing something else than the cards there, Kenna. I mean, Bloom had won a couple pots in a row. He was starting to dominate the table. And Muldoon, I mean, just put his foot down. He called, and then he bet.
That's a great point, Jesse. Maybe that's what he was doing. Maybe his cards had nothing to do with it. Maybe he planned that play from the get-go, and the 10-3 was just irrelevant.
And Muldoon pretty much saying, I'm here. I'm still here. So we are still 5, but Patrik Neckelmann has been given several opportunities to get knocked out of this tournament. He's still hanging on, but just about 10 big blinds. Kenna, danger zone for him.
Well, as these blinds increase, it's going to be danger zone for everybody. You know, as the blinds increase, the pressure increases because it costs you more each time around the table. Darren Bloom now waking up with some hands, this time ace queen of hearts.
It's been raised to 18,000 total.
6 has become 18.
3 times the big blind, a standard raise. Over to Mark Muldoon, he finds an ace. Well, he laid this ace down. He laid his last ace down against Darren Bloom, but this time it looks like he's willing to make a stand.
Well, he's taking... He's really taking a point of view here, and I think that he may be wrong.
Pass.
You think? I know he's wrong. I can see he's got ace 3, and while we know that he's way behind Darren Bloom, when you're facing a raise and you have ace queen in your hand, it is not a comfortable spot to be in. You fear ace king, you fear a pair. You just plain are in fear.
Yeah. Bloom, I guess Muldoon feels like Bloom can afford to let this go.
Well, he knows that also that Darren has, been pretty tight to this point. Look at how calm the demeanor of Mark Muldoon.
He does. He looks like somebody who's watching TV.
Will Darren Bloom read the situation correctly and move all in?
Oh, he has.
He has.
Really strong.
Wow, he must have read something here. And Mark Muldoon, the gig is up.
Yeah.
As they say.
Muldoon, he's the kind of guy who plays on a real live wire, isn't he? He's an edge player. And
very good. And after I'll tell you one thing, Jesse. When you put all your chips in the pot, as Darren Bloom has done, the only thing you fear is the instant call by the other player, where they go call, and you fear they might have aces and kings. Once you get past the first, 5 seconds, you've realized you've made the right play. He has, and to his credit, he'll be stacking a monster pot.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the cards that were at, it seemed like an automatic move for Darren Bloom. But from his point of view, it took courage, it took heart. He had it, and he was right.
Of course it did.
Wow, what a hand. A lot of interesting things about that hand, Kenna. But first of all, why did Mark Muldoon decide to make a play on Darren?
Well, I think he sensed that Darren Bloom was his stiffest competition. And, he sensed him as a threat, and he wanted to squash that threat.
He wanted to just put him out right there and just show him who was boss. But then why did Darren make the play back on Muldoon?
Well, it's a good question, Jesse. Sometimes players get lost when they get raised. They're facing a big raise and they get lost in their chips. Their focus is on their chips only, and they're seeing how much it's going to cost them. And very few players have the presence of mind to back off their position and actually assess their opponent's strength. And that's what I loved what Darren Bloom did here. He backed off and he really looked and analyzed his opponent, and as cool and as calm as Mark Muldoon looked here, he had that kind of nervous scratching of the head that I think Darren Bloom picked up on and decided to move all in and put him at a decision for all his chips.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Muldoon wasn't really that comfortable, was he?
Well, it finds its way out in little nuances, and maybe that was the little nuance that pulled the trigger for Darren Bloom.
Interesting thing I found is, though even Muldoon made the play, he still has $136,000. He's still well in this.
Right, so it wasn't, you know, a terrible play. He had the chips to make the play. It just didn't work out.
Still a battle going on there for domination, but right now, table captain Darren Bloom.
I'll sit down the table. There's 5 guys I'm playing tonight. I've never seen any of them play. I've never played with any of them. And I'm happy to adjust my game accordingly. I'm happy to be aggressive if the time tells me that's the right thing to do, or I'm happy to be patient, sit there, play tight. Obviously, the format of these competitions, you can't sit around forever. But against that, there is time to play a little bit of poker.
Pass.
Nobody giving anything away, nobody wanting to leave this table, everybody vying for that one spot in the semis in an opportunity to win $200,000.
Darren Bloom had a fiddle with his chips on the button against Mark Muldoon and then thought better of it with the Jack-6, but Pace has a far better hand.
He brings it in with the Ace-8 of hearts. Muldoon maybe lost the plot here. He's going all in with 9-3 on a complete bluff.
Well, this is Irish poker at its best, Kenna. Muldoon does not think he's going to get called, and I tend to think he's right.
Well, you know, he is preying on the conservative nature of Norman Pace here. This is a total situational play, has nothing to do with the value of his hand.
Good raising hand, but not good calling.
And he is correct. I am the one who's lost the plot.
Muldoon's hands were clasped in prayer right there. He was
I had
got
some
it
of those.
through. Well, Mark Muldoon, a bit of a revelation here, Kenny. You know, I was talking to Muldoon before this started, and he said that he reckoned that with 6 players there, you had to assume that no one gets anything all the time.
Well, there's a difference between assuming nobody gets anything and putting all your chips in with 9-3. I'm marking it down just in case I ever play with him. What a play by Mark Muldoon. Certainly you have to take risks, you know, to get chips, because you're not always going to have the cards. And Mark Muldoon, his timing was perfect here in this situation to extract and pick the pocket of Norman Pace.
What is the other side of the coin for Muldoon? Will he get caught sooner or later?
He will if he steps out too often, because it's such a timing thing. You know, if you make the play against the wrong person at the wrong time, or run into a hand, which is the bigger threat, you know, then the jig is up, and he'll fall into the pit and down into the abyss, and off to the rail he goes. But so far so good. It's interesting to see what's going to happen next.
I've heard you call it dancing through the raindrops. Right now, Muldoon's singing in that rain.
Mark, you're going to have to tell them to focus in on his
Muldoon is right now busy telling everybody that there's nothing much else you can do when you get the 2 queens.
You said about the any good? Are you any good?
Yeah.
Come off the cuff. National or flag?
The
National
resource
hand.
and the
Richard
colour
Phillips
of his
trains him.
football team was so because I said, why haven't you rolled just... Pass. Pass.
Neckelmann, is he out of the woods yet? He's up to 77,000.
Not by any means. He needs a double up to be out of the woods.
Call. Any raise?
Bloom, willing to take the free flop.
Well, not exactly free. He's in the small blind, but he puts in only a half a bet, and it's over to Norman Pace with Ace-3.
Wow.
You know, those blinds are so high right now, 5 and 10,000. I would have made a nice raise there and try and win it, you know, that 20,000 before the flop, because ace high tends to be the best hand heads up.
Check.
Instead, he knuckles it and gives Bloom the free flop.
Check.
Bloom now with a gut shot straight draw. A 7 will make him a straight.
Yeah, Pace has turned this hand from a winner into a loser, hasn't he?
He's certainly given himself an opportunity to lose it. And so he says, go ahead and take it. Bloom's going to try and do the job with a bet with only 5 high. Will he win it?
Pass.
But of course.
But of course. You know, you take what the game gives, you take what your opponents give. Norman Pace just gave Darren Bloom that pot.
Been 5 for a while. Broadhurst now in the hot seat.
Right, and Darren Bloom still staying at the top of the leaderboard with 186,000. Something is going to happen very soon here as the blinds are very high and the action is going to be fast.
Still very tense in there under the lights, but it's Darren the Snake Bloom who's ahead now and looking good for slinking out of here with the chips. But there's still 4 others on his tail and just 1 seat in the semi-final to be had.
Check over the line for me, thank you.
I'm interested to see when the next hand between Darren Bloom and Mark Muldoon happens.
It's Darren Bloom's big blind right now.
Muldoon elects not to raise it. He won that last pot, so that's quieted him a bit for this hand. Patrik Neckelmann with 10-6.
All in.
All in.
I like this play.
Yeah, you know, he feels like he can't afford to wait any longer.
How much, please?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I think this is a uh-oh is correct, Jesse. I think Darren Bloom is going to call this. Ace high heads up is a very reasonable holding, especially somebody on the short stack who needs chips. He's an experienced player that will assess this correctly, and I believe he'll make this call.
It is 72,000, Kenna, and I mean, even though Darren Bloom could make this call and be right, he's not that big a favorite, is he? I mean,
he's not, but you know, at some point, you know, you don't want to be run over. And this decision right here is going to go to the character of Darren Bloom. How conservative of a player he is, how aggressive. Very interesting decision at hand for
he's
Darren
looking
Bloom.
over at Neckelmann. He's really going to wait and let Neckelmann reveal the strength of his own hand.
Look at how he is assessing his opponent. Darren Bloom, obviously very good at reading players and body language.
Pass.
But makes the wrong decision this time in my book.
Huh? Find out a good forward later.
When you know the blinds are going to go up and everyone's going to be under pressure, do you feel that you have to make a move?
Well, you not necessarily. You're waiting for your opponents to fold under their pressure and make a mistake without trying to make a mistake yourself.
Neckelmann has gotten nearly reckless, but
very aggressive.
Uh-oh.
And we can see what blind aggression does. This is what I was just saying, Jesse. You know, you try to avoid the mistakes yourself, and while letting the pressure build on your opponents and forcing them to make mistakes.
Yeah.
This game is about making the fewest mistakes.
Yeah, it was just one hand too many for Neckelmann. Pace has woken up with the aces. He's got Neckelmann covered. I mean, Neckelmann could get lucky, but it is unlikely.
It is.
You've got chances, actually.
Unlikely to the tune of almost 5 to 1.
And you showed
Neckelmann with a mere 16% chance to win.
We've all seen these busted.
Yeah.
He's played with a lot of heart, this 22-year-old, but is pretty much up against it.
Oh my goodness, not any longer. He's flopped a pair and a flush draw. Well, let's see what the percentages come out now. 50-50. It's a horse race to the wire. Here they come down the home stretch as we go to the turn.
A spade would end it. King or 4 for the lead.
That's a queen of clubs, Jesse. Now a 4, a spade, or a king will win it for Neckelmann. Otherwise, Pace will eliminate Neckelmann. We go to the river.
Yeah, Pace has to really sweat this one out. He's done it.
Good play.
It's a uneventful 7. Neckelmann will finish in 5th place. Norman Pace, the benefactor of 2 aces, Jesse. We seen that last week as well.
Yeah,
scary.
One of the youngest players in the tournament is out, but he's got a few stories to tell his university poker buddies. Definitely one for the future. Let's hear from Patrik now.
I had like about 8 big blinds or something. Then in the end, the hand I went out with, I was like trying to steal the big blind from a player which was rather not defending it too much. I don't know. Went good a couple times, didn't go good in the end.
Well, Neckelmann out in fifth. Kenna, he was knocked out, caught doing what he was trying to do, which was gather chips.
Well, you know, the blinds and the pressure got a little bit much for this youngster, and you know, he maybe didn't have to make the move quite as early as he did, and he fell right into the patient play of Norman Pace, who woke up with the 2 aces.
It's that timing thing, isn't it? How's it going to pan out now? Bloom and Muldoon, we know, they got their eyes on each other, but Pace is the chip leader now.
Boy, you know, he's the dark horse in this. He could sneak up, you know, right along the outside and come into the finish line. Believe me, he has the skill and the know-how to do it.
It is like a horse race. It doesn't matter who's leading after 3 furlongs. The finish line counts. Blinds up 7,000, 15,000 now, 22,000 before the cards are out. Is it a crapshoot?
Not quite yet. You know, there's some big stacks out there. It's a bit of a crapshoot for Broadhurst, who only has 46,000. It's 22,000 a round, which means every 4 hands, that's what it's going to cost you.
I think Broadhurst would love a crapshoot right now.
Oh, you know, I'm a little partial to playing craps myself.
Norman Pace is now to raise from the button. This is not automatic, really. This is aggressive, isn't it?
Well, it's a reasonable hand, Queen 8. You know, we're short-handed now. Only 4 players remain. He's going to love what he sees from Broadhurst. This is a crapshoot.
Another 6.
Okay.
Broadhurst rolling the bones here with 10-8 off suit. Finds himself a significant underdog going to the flop, Jesse.
I mean, Dave had a third of his stack there in the big blind. He just basically decided he couldn't put down anything reasonable.
Right, which I understand. I don't blame him here. Let's see how the hand develops as we go to the flop. The pot size, 99,000.
Yeah, this could bring Broadhurst even minus the rake. Oh, 8 hits the board, but the Queen of Pace plays. Broadhurst still in need of a 10, or a 5 would work for him.
A 5 would split the pot, giving them both 8s and 5s with an ace. But he's looking for the 10 to win it as we go to the turn. It's an 8.
Dave's sick. He's going to make 3 8s and still get knocked out.
And he's going to be knocked out with trips unless a 10
If
should
it was
fall.
another 8.
It's a jack, and that will do it.
Very much.
Yeah, it's a shame there. Dave Broadhurst, he really dried up card-wise somewhere in the middle of this heat, didn't he?
Yeah, it went dry for Broadhurst there, losing with the 3-8. To the better kicker of Norman Pace, who's keeping pace with the chip lead now, extending it. He has a stack of 275,000.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's gonna, yeah.
I know it's...
We've just seen Norman Pace storming the table, knocking out 2 players in 2 hands. Incredible stuff. He's certainly got the cred to mix it up with the pros and the chip lead to prove it. It's game on.
Well, no surprise about Broadhurst. He was short, he pushed, he couldn't catch. But 3-handed now, what are the dynamics 3-handed? What should these guys be thinking about?
Well, you know, at this point, these are 3 players who are poker savvy. So it is going to come down to who gets the cards, who makes the right moves. It's going to be very interesting to watch as the blinds have now escalated and will force the players into action.
Is the first raise less important than the second raise before the flop?
Well, absolutely. A second raise communicates even stronger, a stronger holding than the first raise. So you want to get your chips in first. You don't want to be the caller. You want to be the aggressor. Let's see who it's going to be, Jesse.
Back to the game.
Tough decision here for Darren Bloom. Does he step out?
Pass.
He throws his cards out.
Now Pace, Has a chip lead over Mark Muldoon, but not
Raise.
well. He's bullying him here.
He's going to go for the bully out of position with the Jack 3.
He's chewing his gum very quickly.
Right. I think he's trying to project a more
40,000
relaxed
total.
image than he really feels or can feel with Jack 3.
Call.
He's run into a hand here. Mark Muldoon, ace 8, is going to defend from the big blind.
Yeah, he's just called Muldoon.
Yeah.
And this pot's big, 94,000. Wow.
Yeah, well, the blinds are high. 9, 7, 5. The flop missing both players. Muldoon still with the best hand.
What should Pace do here?
Well, he should make a continuation bet.
All in.
But he does not, and he allows Muldoon to take this pot right away from him.
Somehow, I think that even if Pace had led at it, Muldoon might have pushed. He was
Yeah, he was determined to win that one, wasn't he?
One way or another.
Intent, a very powerful force in No Limit Hold'em.
They've played a few hands three-way, and it's Muldoon who has creeped up into the chip lead, mostly at the expense, well, the expense of both Pace and Bloom.
Right, but Bloom's piece of the pie beginning to look more like a sliver. Pressure mounting now as we move to Norman Pace. A lovely hand, deuce 3 of spades.
Pass.
Just kidding, he throws it in the muck where it aptly should be.
Mark Muldoon
Call.
just limping in again with the Queen 10.
Queen 10.
Raise.
Raise.
50.
50,000 more. 65 total.
I wonder if Muldoon is trapping here.
Hard to believe he'd be trapping with a holding as weak as Queen 10. I think he was
Pass.
trying to see a cheap flop. Darren Bloom not wanting to let his opponent achieve his objective, raises and takes it.
Nice little raise there. Darren Bloom with the 10-5, raising with the hand. Well, they've played three-handed for a while now. Who do you think is employing the best strategy of these three?
They're all three effectively playing a very good strategy. It's just a matter of who is going to crack, who's going to break, who's going to make the mistake. It's not going to be Darren Bloom. He has a very reasonable hand here. Ace-7 of clubs. It's just a matter, he's going to raise. It's just a matter of how
Raise to
much.
50,000 total.
It's exactly a third of his stack, yeah.
Yep. Raise 50,000. That's a little more than 3 times. It's an excellent raise. It's going to make a very tough decision for Pace, who has also found an ace in the blind.
Pass.
I like it. Good decision.
35,000 on Muldoon.
Pass.
You want to be the first one in the pot. If Bloom had picked up nothing there, Pace would have folded. But because Bloom had raised, he assessed that his hand was no good and correctly folded.
The pie getting very even three ways. Bloom has pulled himself up by his bootstraps. Average chip count right now, 200,000, Kenna. Nobody's far off.
Nope. Pace giving up a piece of pie back to Bloom. This is a racehorse competition, back and forth, neck and neck. Who is going to finish?
So, 3 here and very even between them.
I don't think there's much in it between the three of us.
No.
I think I'm
it's
last,
pretty close,
but it's not
actually.
like
No, nothing one hot.
Yeah.
What you got?
I think just over 2.
Yeah.
Muldoon, everyone agreeing now. A little table talk there.
Pass.
But, pretty much nothing in it. And Bloom, this is the biggest hand he's picked up in a while.
Yes. And it's a nice one with pocket
Raise
10s.
50.
Raise.
Puts in a
50,000 total.
nice healthy
I'm all in.
raise.
We raise all in.
Pace all in. He feels the ace-8 is big, but it's
Right.
not big enough.
Well, this hand is going to play itself. Ace-8 of hearts, very reasonable move for Norman Pace.
Can I have a count, please?
Yeah, sure.
Darren Bloom having a little
Would you
smile
do?
here.
You'd be
I mean,
quicker at it
Yeah,
than me,
no
love.
problem. Can I just...
does he think that he's probably up against 2 overcards? And
Well, you know, sometimes you can talk yourself
I
out
think
of a
that's
hand.
80, the blue ones.
And hopefully for Darren Bloom, he doesn't do that here, because this is a very big hand when you're down to 3 players. I can't imagine that he's thinking about folding this.
I mean, you were saying before how you want to get your chips in first, give yourself every opportunity, but pretty much the blinds are so big right now that
148
Darren's going to
more.
have to just accept the gamble, isn't he?
How much is in there?
There's 100,000 in the pot.
Exactly
already
right,
for
Jesse.
250s.
But you can see the decision is tough. He had to reach for the water. Suddenly your mouth goes dry, your
150
heart
more, yeah.
starts to beat
Well,
very quickly
148 more.
when you're faced for a decision for all your chips, and that's what's happened here. And you're staring somebody like Norman Pace in the face, who's chewing on the gum like he's got not a care in the world.
The fact is that Norman Pace has about 12,000 more chips than Darren Bloom, but effectively they'd be playing for 2/3 of the chips in the tournament. Bloom calls here. And Darren would be, what, about a 3-to-1 favorite?
Yep. I mean, this is incredible. Now look at where Bloom's focus is at. It's at his chips as he moves them into the middle for the correct call.
As soon as Darren called, Norman Pace, realizing that his hand is unlikely to be good at this juncture. But he's got a couple live aces in the deck.
He certainly does. 3 of them to be exact. He's going to need an ace or a lot of hearts, or he will, I think he has Bloom covered, but he will be crippled.
Yeah, time to tickle the ivory here. 5 piano keys coming. And that's no help.
Still safe for Bloom. He has to dodge an ace, running hearts, or a running straight, and he will double up as we go to the turn.
Ooh.
Ooh.
That may have been the best card in the deck that wasn't an ace for Norman Pace.
A lot of outs. An awful lot of outs.
5, 10, ace of hearts.
Will it be an ace for Pace as we go to the river?
No.
Ooh, maximum outs
Just kidding.
denied.
Barely enough.
I think Norman Pace may still be in. They'll have a chip count here.
He is still in. I'm
If you
sure
thought
that
I
he
had
had
2
Bloom
overcards,
covered
why
there.
did you want to race me for all your chips?
No, I didn't. No. I
Okay,
bet
we
the
have
50. Do you know what you had?
136.
When I bet the 50, the original 50.
No, no, no. You
But,
called my...
I called the bet. No, the other one.
Let's
I
have a
won't.
listen
Right.
as
Like
we're
136,
hearing what the
136
players
being
are
given
thinking
back,
here.
And Norman will be left with 12,000.
She was calm.
Yeah, Norman said, if you thought I had 2 overcards, why did you want to race me?
Kings or aces,
Sure.
then I don't call.
I know.
I'll take you for ace jack.
Darren
ace
Bloom
king,
explaining
ace
his actions.
I'm still
Very
jobbing.
rare should you have to explain your actions with the best hand.
50-50 more or less. Your slight favourite against 2 overcards.
Correct,
that's all.
especially they're suited.
But
I
I'm
thought
surprised
you
you.
could have.
What I'm saying, I'm surprised you took a race for all your chips.
Well, it
I was
wasn't a
committed
race.
50, 150. I was committed with 50.
It's 150,000 more to call.
A
That's what I read
three-legged
you for
race,
ace
maybe.
with a
I know.
kicker.
Okay, gentlemen.
3-handed, something's gotta give, and what gave were Norman Pace's chips. Any different way that hand could have played out?
Well, it's very tough because when you're 3-way action, the blinds are high, you're under pressure decision at every moment. You know, an ace is a good hand, suited even better. He had a medium kicker. Now Darren Bloom with 2 10s, you know, he's the one that put in the raise. You know, Pace decided to make a stand with his ace-8, very reasonable, and also very reasonable for Darren Bloom to make that call. So, you know, it was unfortunate for Norman Pace. Fortune goes to Darren Bloom.
And that's it. You talk about a chip and a chair. What that is 6 chips and really no chair at all. Norman Pace looking at his watch, seeing if he can still make the 9 o'clock movie. He's in trouble. He's in big trouble.
He's not in trouble of making
Tell you
the
what,
9 o'clock
a good
movie.
win from here, boys. Be very afraid.
He may be in trouble of winning this heat.
I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen.
That's happened.
False
I'm surprised to go
encouragement
out.
from Darren Bloom. trying to give hope where very little hope exists.
Now, does Bloom want to limp and try and knock Norman Pace out, or should he just ignore Norman, play his own hand?
Ignore Norman and play his own hand.
50,000 total.
The blinds are significant. He figures Norman is gonna, Norman is all in anyway. It's better to take it heads up with the ace. Ooh, a very interesting situation as we look down at Mark Muldoon. This would be a great opportunity for Mark to move all his chips into the pot.
I haven't seen them actually.
It would have. Muldoon may have been convinced by the fact that either way he's going to get to see Darren's hand, but what he's going to find out now is how strong position he was in.
Right.
No, I haven't.
So it's going to be disappointing for Muldoon because, he's seen an opportunity here go awry. He could have had this whole pot.
Why do you think he folded? I mean, there is nothing for second.
Well, he knows that if Bloom had a mediocre hand, he probably would have, called or just folded and let Muldoon take him out. But the fact that he raised and wanted to take him heads up really indicated that he had a stronger hand than he actually has.
Well, the situation right now, Pace all in, and really the 7, the key card for Norman right here.
Well, pretty much the only card that is going to save Pace at this point. No longer it is a shutout.
Yeah.
As Darren Bloom makes the wheel on the turn.
A 6 would win Norman Pace the pot.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I thought it was a shutout. You're correct.
It would be the other way.
A 6 would flip the tables.
Thanks, guys. Really good game. Thank you. Enjoyed
it. To be 7-3 knocked out.
Cheers. Well done.
Yep.
Play well.
That last hand, not looking good for Norman. The turn gave Tony Bloom a straight, but it gave Pace a higher straight draw. Missed wide, and the wheel, ace 2, 3, 4, 5, taking us heads up.
He certainly proved he deserved his place round this table, and he gave it everything. But Norman Pace becomes the 3rd man out in our first heat.
Darren had been at me and at my blind all the time, and I was waiting for a decent hand to re-raise him over the top when he wasn't pot committed, and that's why I did what I did with the ace-8, forcing him to fold. Now, pair of 10's a good hand, but you could even fold a pair of 10's to a move like that. Maybe not three-handed, and maybe not on a table where there's only one prize. So he made a great call and I didn't hit. Mind you, I had a lot of outs on before the river, didn't I? He was a bit scared. Open-ended straight draw, any ace and a flush draw. I was, I think, slight favourite at that time.
It's come down to just 2. We're heads up, and each of these guys will be feeling the pressure with entry into the $500,000 prize pool for just the winner. Don't go anywhere. The final 2 are dealt in after the break. We're down to the final 2 in this heat of the partypoker.net World Open. One of these guys takes a step towards a $200,000 first prize and the other walks away with nothing. Let's see how Jesse and Kenna see this one going.
Well, head up now, and it seemed like it was always going to come down to this, Kenna.
Well, we sensed it. We sensed it was going to be Muldoon against Bloom, in this horse race. And but Bloom has come out of nowhere down the backstretch and into the home stretch. It's going to be very interesting because Muldoon's a very calculating player. He's a little bit more situational than Darren Bloom, who plays a little bit closer to the vest and plays his cards, and he plays them very well.
How big is the 2-to-1 chip lead that Bloom has? Is it insurmountable?
No, not insurmountable by any means, but it is a big advantage to have because now Darren Bloom needs to double up one extra time, which is very tough to do when you have 2 opponents.
It's heads up. The 2 big boys at the table. 1 seat open at the semis.
It's a test of wills here. $20,000 and $40,000 blinds, or is that right?
$10,000 and $20,000.
$10,000 and $20,000 blinds, rather. The pot being $30,000.
Yeah, basically 5% of the chips in play in the pot before the cards come out. It's there's not much room to maneuver, is there?
There isn't, but each player not wanting to give anything up. Darren Bloom not wanting to give up his chip lead. Mark Muldoon not wanting to be blinded out of the tournament and letting the blinds eat him up. So he's going to force the action.
Just a limp in from Muldoon.
No raise.
And Bloom willing to see this flop. Bloom was kind of wondering what kind of holding Muldoon can have, isn't he? I mean, what does he have to limp in with?
Well, it's interesting that Muldoon chose to raise with absolutely garbage and now has a reasonable hand and decides to flat call. Bloom with top pair of eights is looking to set Muldoon up. He's not going for it.
Darren Bloom, it looks like he went for the check raise, and now it's a pretty dangerous looking board.
It's a good point, Jesse. I think that's exactly what he did. He went for the check raise. It did not work.
Pass.
Muldoon just double checking that that queen wasn't a king before he mucks his hand. Sometimes players do that. They overlook their hands, you know, and he just wanted, it never hurts to double check, and I think that's what happened there.
One-on-one. These two have been gunning for each other since the holsters were drawn.
And now nobody stands in their way. It's mono on mono.
And Tony Bloom, he got enough for the call, then he went back for more, then thought about it.
That shows weakness. Let's see if Mark Muldoon picks up on it. I think he may have, because his hand doesn't dictate this raise. The situation does.
Great stuff.
70,000.
Very nice. You gotta love it. The short stack taking it to the big stack, the big guy, the bully.
Yeah. Pass.
He picked out on that nuance. You see that?
Yeah, he was scratching his head, wasn't he?
Well, no, he picked up on Darren Bloom, looking like he wanted to raise, then had second thoughts. It's little things like that that you can pick up on and take the pot away from your opponent.
You're 10 there for 20.
Muldoon's got a lot of play to him right now. He's playing like the big stack. It's almost like he's drawing Darren into the way he wants Darren to play.
Right. Well, he knows what he needs to do. He cannot sit back and wait. The blinds are too high.
Raise.
70,000 more.
Sorry?
70.
70 total.
20 plus, I think he said 70,000 more.
No,
Maybe.
70,000 total, making it the pot now 90,000.
Did you say raise 70?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've got to give you that back because there's 70 there. Yeah? Okay.
Raise 70.
Okay, sorry, you did say 70
Ask
more.
tournament
Okay,
director.
sorry
I think he
about
did
that,
say
Matt.
70 more.
So it's
The
90,000
Irish are hard to
total.
understand sometimes.
Sorry, guys.
It'll be interesting to see what Darren Bloom looks down at, Jack 9. He might just get tired of this constant pressure that Muldoon is enforcing on him and take a stand. Sooner or later, he certainly will. He says, what are you doing bullying me? I'm the chip leader.
I mean, to be fair, Kenna, Darren has made some moves, but he hasn't really made many moves with no hand.
Yep.
Tonight.
No, he's very
Muldoon
calculated.
certainly has.
Yep.
Is it just not in Darren Bloom's nature to be the aggressor? Is he waiting for the counterpunch? Is he expecting that Muldoon will slip up?
I think so. He's biding his time,
Raise.
hoping that he picks up
Raise.
a hand. He realizes he can't wait forever.
He's announced raise here with the 8 high, so he's clearly
Raise
getting
60,
the hang of it.
70,000 total.
The question is if
Wow.
Muldoon will pick up that
All in?
he's weak. He has. He's got an ace as well.
Wow, Muldoon's timing perfect here. He's been exerting pressure with no hands and now finds an ace in the big blind when Darren Bloom steps out for the first time. He shuts his hand in the door.
Well, it's going to shatter Darren's confidence because he's not to know that Mark actually has anything. He might just think that Mark has a tell on him.
Right. It's making Darren squirm because he realizes he can't call. He has no hand. He's got to be frustrated. He's now, with surrendering this hand, he's going to give up the chip lead.
Pass.
Pass.
He was just waiting a little bit there. Just wanted to settle himself down, but he was never calling, was Darren?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Not with an
And
8-4.
now we have a poker game, friends. Mark Muldoon has vaulted into the chip lead, 330,000 to Darren Bloom's 270,000. He has taken it to him.
He has indeed.
Will the deck rescue Darren Bloom? That is the question. Because right now he is being outplayed and outmaneuvered by Mark Muldoon. A little fatigued earlier, Muldoon looks razor sharp now.
He does.
Pass.
He looks like he's got the full adrenaline rush. And it just seems like he's got the strategy that's going to work. But I mean, do you get the feeling that Darren Bloom is going to have trouble winning without picking up cards in the right situation?
Well, I haven't played with Darren yet, so it's not easy for me to tell yet when push comes to shove and his back is to the wall, how he's going to react. But
you got to figure he's capable of changing gears if that's what's needed.
Right. Well, here's Ace Jack. This, of course, a very good hand heads up. He will make a stand with this hand.
Raise 60 more, 72.
If he has to.
Pass.
Wow, Mark Muldoon dodging bullets here. He's not picking up anything when Darren Bloom has the hand. Look at this now, Jesse. It is a split decision.
There's nothing in it. Is it cards or play that's going to decide it from here?
That is the question. Whether 'tis cards or whether 'tis situation that will dictate the winner
70
here.
more, 90 total.
Yeah, it's one of the things about this format is you almost wish they could just roll back the blinds to 1 and 2. Oh! 2 sevens against the overcards. Kenna, it's just going in.
It's got to go in here, I would think. Ace, Queen of Hearts. Bloom has had enough.
Well, they're dead even in chips. This is going to decide it.
It's going to be 600,000 on the line right here, I have a feeling.
This is for the place in the semis.
I expect Darren Bloom to re-raise here. Muldoon to take a stand with the 2 sevens. And we coin flip it for everything. That's what I expect to happen, but who knows?
Darren giving a lot of look and then pushing.
All in.
And a
All
quick
in and a
call from
call.
Muldoon.
It is what happens.
It's all down to the 5 cards on the board.
This is how close this is, Jesse. 300,000 apiece, 2 sevens, ace, queen.
Do you want to trade 20% each?
It's 50-50.
Trade 20% each?
No point.
That's right. Good
No,
luck.
but good luck. Very kind offer.
We're going to flip the coin. We go to the flop as Muldoon with 2 sevens. Bloom looking for an ace or a queen.
And it's a good flop for Muldoon.
Jack, 9-5. He's just got to dodge an ace or a queen, and he will win this match.
6 cards in the deck for Tony Bloom. Muldoon just about a 3-1 favorite.
Oh!
Oh, that's cruel.
And
Mark Muldoon down to 2 cards in the deck now.
an ace on the turn all but puts a nail in the coffin. Mark Muldoon just got to suck the wind right out of you.
Nice one.
A hopeless jack on the river.
Queen suited. There may be 5,000 in it otherwise.
Wow.
Played very well.
That's all
Yeah.
I can say, Jesse, is wow.
In the end, you cannot split these poker players except by a
290.
50-50 shot.
Okay, well done.
I'll play it again.
Darren Bloom, well played.
Yeah.
Mark Muldoon, the champion, walking out as well.
I think I'd have done the same.
I actually thought I may have been in front because they'd raised that many hands that he couldn't keep getting raised, that he had to try to make a play at some stage, and well, he made the play and called him, and that's what happens, poker.
Congratulations to the first player through to the semi-finals, Darren Bloom. He's with Jesse and Kenna.
Ken and I are joined by the winner, Darren Bloom. Congratulations, Darren. Well played. Now, I know you've played this format a few times. Did you come in here tonight with a different strategy?
Not at all. I come in with a very open strategy. I'm happy to be aggressive. I'm happy to be quiet early on, just get a read on a few of the other players, none of whom I'd met before tonight, a few internet players there. And to be honest, you know, the way poker has developed over the last 5 years now, there's no bad players. The internet guys, the pros, the recreational players, everyone knows how to play the game, and you need your cards.
Right. Everybody's joining this game, and I've got to applaud you and applaud your strategy, because that is simply what works, is a flexible strategy, and the fact that you were flexible is what made the difference tonight in my eyes.
Congratulations again, Darren. You'll be in the semis. See you next week at the partypoker.net World Open.